So welcome to this inVantage EOS Lightbulb Series session today. I'm so excited to have Joe Fralick from TKO Miller. He's their managing director joining today, sharing a lot of insights about the world of M&A as well as the deal structures and helping to create a lot of value for businesses through transactions. We know that in the world of EOS, we do a lot of implementations to help organizations prepare for that next succession plan, whether it's another generation coming into the business or preparing for sale. EOS on its premise is designed to strengthen the operational health of a business, which ultimately increases its value as well. So today we wanted to get some insights from Joe with his rich experience in working with business owners and their teams to really get the most out of their business, as well as give us some good tips and insights to what we can do as business owners to really strengthen our position in the deal process. So Joe, so happy to have you with me today. Thank you for being part of this series.
Well, thanks, Kelly. I appreciate being included. It's fun to be able to talk to you about this. So thanks for doing this.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, why don't we start out? Tell me a little bit about TKO Miller and what you do as an organization for your clients.
Sure. TKO Miller is a boutique investment bank. Our clients are almost exclusively founder and family-owned businesses, and we help them typically with one of two or three things. Either coming to a point where they want to sell their company, where they want to do acquisitions of other companies, or they need to raise capital for any number of reasons, whether it's to do an acquisition or buy out a partner or fund a growth plan or restructure or any number of things. But our business is built around a model of bringing Wall Street level service and capabilities to the smaller client market. And that's something that we've seen for many, many years is lacking in this geographic area. And that's the market we hope to address.
You know, it's interesting when you look at that small and mid-sized market area, the closely held family-owned businesses, those leadership teams and those owners, this isn't their area of expertise. They tend to be the subject matter experts of their business, and they need partners in your space that really help them understand and navigate the complexity of deals and deal structures and the options and whatnot. So having that focus on those mid-tier and smaller companies is wonderful to be able to help educate them and help give them the tools that otherwise they probably wouldn't even know that they need or have access to. So that's fantastic.
Very true. And on top of it all, it's fun. It's a fun group of people to work with and to help accomplish their objectives.
I agree. There's nothing like entrepreneurs to work with. I love it and live it every day myself. But you too are an entrepreneur. So you have had a neat career journey yourself. Can you share a little bit of your background with our audience and kind of bring it current to how you ended up with TKO Miller?
Sure. Well, I've been in the investment banking and private equity world for the last 31 years. I've worked in big firms and small firms, but decided to really branch out and, as you said, be an entrepreneur and team up with a couple partners and form a firm several years ago, which is when TKO Miller was born. Earlier on in my career, I got an electrical engineering degree from Stanford and an MBA from Harvard. So I worked as an engineer for a number of years. I worked in marketing. I worked in management for some big, pretty well-known companies like Intel and Sony and Raychem. And as I moved through different positions at those companies, I found that what got me excited were new opportunities, new situations, new problems, new parts of the organization. I got frustrated with bureaucracy and the slow pace that many large companies have. And so when I was working in Silicon Valley at the time, and when I moved back to Wisconsin in 1989, which is where I grew up, I took the opportunity to see if a career change would be interesting for me. And that's how I got into this field. And suffice it to say, I found something I love because I've been doing it ever since.
Mm-hmm. I love the story, and I didn't even know some of those components of your background. So the engineering background is fascinating. We'll have to talk about that again sometime. When you look at what TKO Miller does, tell me a little bit about some of the problems you help solve for your clients.
Well, most of the time, business owners don't know a lot about selling or buying or raising capital, as the case may be. So more than anything, we help them understand how to think about those sorts of opportunities. And in doing so, we help them better understand how those things can fit in to their ultimate goals and objectives for their business and their personal lives. So getting a little more granular, we help people see options that are available that they may not have been aware of. And we help people better understand the options that they are aware of and the implications and ramifications of those. We help them understand what drives value in a business and what subtracts from value. We help them think through the many other factors that go into deciding on doing a deal or which deal to do beyond just which is the highest price. Price is always of interest to people. It's usually pretty high up on the list of objectives, but there's many, many other things that go in to making the right deal for a business owner. The terms, the indemnities, an ongoing role in the business, potential future value, the legacy of the business, how other family members are handled, how the management team is handled. There's just many, many factors that go into a deal beyond just the price. And so we spend a lot of time with our clients helping them understand those things and prioritize those things so that the right package of elements is there for them. Sometimes we're hired when people are ready to do something. Other times we're hired well in advance and we help them prepare for an ultimate exit. And what we bring to that exercise is really a buyer's perspective. So we help them understand how a buyer will evaluate and place value on their business.
Mm-hmm. When we implement EOS in businesses, there's 6 key components of EOS that strengthens an overall organization. And within the vision component, one of the 6, we spend time with them working on three kind of forward-looking planning processes. First of all, we take them and their leadership teams through establishing what we call the 10-year target. What's that big goal, big objective you have? It may not be literally 10 years. It might be somewhere between 5 and 30 years, but it gets them thinking kind of longer term. Where's that go? We often see something about a transaction if there's going to be a sale process in that long-term vision. Then we have them funnel it down to their three-year picture. So now taking that vision of 10 years, narrowing it a little bit more specifically to what do you have to do over the next 3 years to achieve that. And then we even have them take it down to a 1-year plan, so a very specific set of goals and objectives. And then we even drive it down into what we call the 90-day world, quarterly objectives, or ROCs as we call them. And it's really interesting is as we take them through that funnel, if they have an objective to sell, that starts to become clear. And there's a lot of healthy dialogue about how realistic their timelines are. So where I'm going with this next question is, when you work with a client who potentially wants to sell their business, how early would you like to be engaged in those dialogues? I'm sure there's not like a one-size-fits-all answer, but generally, what would your guidance be if I was, selling my business and I said, how long in advance should I be engaging with TKO Miller on something like that?
It's a very good question, and the experiences I've had indicate that the earlier we can get to know people, the better. We're not management consultants. We don't go in and implement detailed operational planning and organizational training and any of that kind of thing. But as I said, we're able to look at a business as a buyer would, and we're able to identify the areas of a business that would be viewed positively and favorably and would be accretive to value versus others that might be neutral or more negative in terms of their impact on value. So it's like anything, whether it's going to your doctor or anything else, the sooner you know about those kind of things, if you ultimately have plans to exit, the more effectively you can plan for and prepare for and make changes for um, the kind of things that will benefit you in the long run. So we, as I said, work with some companies for years and years and even a couple of decades at times, well in advance of them wanting to do something. And we give a lot of free advice along the way. And it's fun and interesting for us because, as I said, we're working with entrepreneurs, and that's the pleasure of what we do. And ultimately, it pays off for both us and them, because when it comes time to sell, everybody's better prepared and better positioned and better equipped to get the best result.
Yep, early sounds like the best advice. And as you look at the different clients you have, what are some of the potential symptoms that might be within an organization that might indicate it's time to engage with you?
Well, people decide to sell their companies, for many reasons. Sometimes they're burned out. They've just kind of had enough. They want to do something else. Sometimes they have concerns about changes in the business or changes in the marketplace or the competitive situation. Sometimes they want to diversify their assets from a financial standpoint. Most business owners have a large portion of their net worth tied up in their business. Sometimes there's a health issue that dictates it. So there's many reasons people decide to sell, but what we found, by far the biggest trigger that gets people on the road to selling is what we call the tap on the shoulder. And it's the call they get, because business owners typically get called all the time from people interested in buying their business. And 99.9% of the time, they don't take the call if they're not in consideration of that kind of thing. But every once in a while they do. And a conversation starts and some information gets exchanged. And all of a sudden, they get sweet talked into receiving an offer, and an offer comes forward. And that many times gets them to sit up and take notice and say, wow, my business is really worth that. Maybe I should think about selling it. And they get their lawyer involved to look at the offer, and they talk to their accountant about how the financials look. And before you know it, they're well down the road to making a deal. And I don't know the statistics because there's no hard data on this, but I would bet that more than 2/3 of the deals that happen end up happening just like that, where nobody else is talked to, nothing's been done to market the business, position the business, no real consideration's been given to what the owner's objectives are beyond price. And so what ends up happening is a very nice deal gets done for an owner, and they walk away satisfied. The problem that causes, and this is not trying to create a problem where there isn't one, but they never know what else is out there. Right. They never know if there was a better price. They never know if there were better terms. They never know if there were better options for them to keep some equity or maintain a role in the management of the company or whatever it is. And it turns out this is almost always the biggest financial decision that an owner makes. It's probably their biggest professional decision, and sometimes it's their biggest personal decision to sell their company. And too many times they end up just taking what they get and being satisfied with it, which, as I said, that's not a bad outcome. But if you ask these business owners, if there was a couple extra $1 million there on the table, who do you think it belongs to? You and your family, or the buyer? I think most people would say it's mine, because this is my life's work. This is what I've put my heart and soul and years and sometimes generations into creating. That belongs to me, not the buyer. So we always look at it as a shame when deals end up going that way, because you don't know what you don't know. But I would almost guarantee that there was something else better out there for that business owner.
I think that's really good advice. And I can appreciate how often those deals happen that way. And the owners, like you said, they don't know what they don't know. And by leaving that on the table, my gosh, I wonder how much more value, they could receive. When you look at the value of businesses and how valuations take place, you mentioned earlier that there are some things that businesses can do that are accretive to the value and some detract. In the world of EOS, we have found that companies that run on EOS tend, because it creates such efficiency and effectiveness and systems and processes and clarity, and it takes a lot of the dependency off of the founder and leadership team and drives more value into the employees and the business. All of those things are meant to be accretive to the business. You have a couple of words of wisdom for our audience here of some of the things that are accretive to businesses and maybe a couple of the detractors, just maybe as an example?
Sure. I mean, the biggest driver of value in a business is the people and the team. And buyers spend a great deal of time evaluating and understanding the capabilities of the people and the team. So anything that can be done to strengthen the team and the people side of the business pays off in spades. The next kinds of things are businesses that are well organized and have a good understanding of their business from the standpoint of systems, processes, procedures. Buyers like to get data on a business, a breakdown of the sales by service area or product line, or margins by geography, or whatever the case may be. The companies that have that information, that can produce it and use it effectively, usually get viewed much more favorably by buyers. And certainly businesses that are continually looking for growth, opportunity, new things, businesses that have a nice track record of improvement, whether it's internal improvement or external improvement in terms of growth and expansion, get real, bonus dividends from that. And I guess conversely, the negatives are businesses that don't have some of those things. Businesses that may be very heavily dependent on the owner, businesses that don't have good ability to produce information and provide a good understanding of their business and be able to communicate that. Businesses that are stagnant and not nimble and energetic, those are all businesses that are probably get some minuses on the report card.
So generally, organizations, when they want to implement EOS, have had some symptoms that may be on the negatives. They've either hit a ceiling of some sort, struggling with growth, not really understanding why they've hit that. A lot of times it has to do with leadership bottlenecks or lack of accountability, clarity, and some other things. That's one of the things we focus on first, is getting the org structure right so that the vision can be developed more appropriately. But in entrepreneurial organizations, we see a lot of that bottlenecking at the top, which really does prevent others from being able to create value in their positions, and way too much dependency on that founder or ownership group or of a few people. So I can relate to that. We often get brought in when they can't grow and they are having some of those challenges, or can't figure out why is the business just not humming along the way that they really think it could. So definitely can relate there. Anything else that you'd want to share, Joe, with this audience? Other parting thoughts or words of wisdom about the deal process or engaging with a group like you?
Well, I guess the only thing I'd throw out is in every field, there are experts in everything. We find a lot of business owners, try to sell their company themselves. We find business owners that, try to use their lawyer to do it or their accountant to do it. We're in a business where there is a high degree of specialization and expertise that's been developed over years and years and decades of doing this. And we like to think that brings us some capabilities and abilities that others who do this as part of what they do don't have. Just like if you needed open heart surgery, your internist could probably do some kind of a job of that. But if you really want the best and you want to get the best result, you're going to go to a specialist to do that. And we observe this ourselves in our business. You know, we could provide legal advice and accounting advice to people because we are in and around those issues all the time, but we don't do it because we're not the best equipped to do it. And we think it's in our clients' best interest to talk to their lawyers or their bankers or their accountants or their estate planners about those kinds of issues. So, you know, I guess my parting advice for people is it doesn't cost you anything to get some more opinions on your situation. And if this is ultimately the biggest, you know, professional and financial decision you ever make, I would think the more the merrier in terms of opinions and input. And so we welcome the opportunity to talk to anybody and give them lots of free advice, whether it leads to an assignment for us or not. We're happy to do it. So we love to encourage people to pick up the phone and call.
Absolutely. And in that exact example, you know, the EOS implementers like me, we also have a very specific expertise, and we help our clients make connections to experts like you for the various needs they have in their business, because there is no one business contact that can satisfy every need that an entrepreneurial company has. And working with experts is important, and being able to be comfortable reaching out for that. And that's why we're talking today, is you're one of those connection points. When we identify those opportunities in our clients, we bring experts in. So I can relate to that. That's the world we live in. Well, Joe, I can't thank you enough for the time today. You've given us a lot of wisdom and insights from your experience. I love your entrepreneurial story as well. So I look forward to seeing you soon. Stay healthy, stay well. And again, thank you for your insights today.
Thanks, Kelly. It's been fun. Thank you again for including me. All the best.